Evening. It is nice to see such a large crowd here tonight in June with school out, but we appreciate each of you being here. This is our combined meeting for June, so this is the only meeting that the Oconee County School Board will have this month, but we do welcome you. At this time, we'd like to have a moment of silence to observe that moment, so if you would like to join us, please do. Amen. And now at this time, I'm going to ask you to stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. And Reese Robinson from the Seneca High School track team is going to come and lead the pledge for us.
Come stand right here in the middle if you don't mind. That way you get on the camera.
Okay.
The flag's behind you.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. And I think we have so many people here tonight because we have a very, very special group of young ladies with us. This is the Seneca High School track team who have won a state championship, and I think it's the second in a row. And most of them are coming back next year, so we can anticipate another one. But I'm going to ask Dr. Chris White, who is a science teacher and a long-time track coach, to come forward and introduce the team, talk a little bit about their accomplishments.
Absolutely. So sometimes in sports, we don't always say we anticipate another one.
I'm
I
sorry.
appreciate it. So, come on. I appreciate you guys having us. It's always special to come here and be recognized for them, their accomplishments. Yeah, come on. So I want to start by thanking all of you, the administration and the school board, as well as our administration and our athletic director, Andy Bay, just for everything they do to support our track team. We can't do what we do without a lot of support district-wide, as far as facilities and support, transportation, all those things. So we really appreciate everything that you guys do for us. These young ladies and young gentlemen are phenomenal. I will start by saying that they are a product of the assistant coaches that help me day to day. We've got one of the best coaching staffs, I really believe, in the state. I told the kids mid-season at one point that there are probably 5 coaches on our coaching staff that could go coach in college today if that was their goal. So I really believe that they're being coached by the best, and I tell people all the time, I just drive the bus and do the eligibility, and everyone else kind of takes care of it on their own. So the people you've got in front of you today, this is Coach Corey Tate. He is our distance coach. This is Mariah Chamberlain. She was a state champion in the 4x1 and the triple jump. I'm always worried I'm going to switch you. Okay. So in the 4x1 and the triple jump. This is Reese Robinson. She is a javelin thrower for us. Sadie Goodrow, she's a pole vaulter. Nicole Fagan is a distance runner. Mariah and Reese and Nicole are the girl seniors we've got, and then Daja Mays is another senior who's there, but she couldn't be with us tonight. Ava Nimmons runs the 800. She ran the 800 and the 4x4 and the 4x8 at the state meet. Nicole also ran the 4x8. Jalen Carver, who's an 8th grader, was on our 4x400 team. Sydney Doyle qualified in 4 events: the high hurdles, the low hurdles. She was an alternate in the 4x8 and the high jump. Daphne Story is a high jumper for us. Michaela Collins is the one not wearing Seneca gear. She was a state champion in the 4x1, the 200 meters, the 400 meters, and she ran the 4x4 for us as well. And then Tariq Webb is our boy who was an individual state champion in the high jump. And then everybody knows Coach Jordan. Coach Jordan's been with us for 1,000 years and knows everybody. So So we really appreciate you guys having us. These girls and boy have worked extremely hard all season. We start officially doing off-season training in November, but it goes kind of all throughout the year. He's got pole vaulters coming at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, so we're not slowing down a whole lot. We've got hurdlers and weightlifters coming on Wednesday at 7. So we're always working, trying to do what we can to get better and stay where we are. And we're gonna keep working at it. So I don't really have a, did you want?
Well, if you would allow us to get the school board members in a picture with you, we'd like to put it on our district website and let Mr. Hamby tweet that out.
All right, y'all gonna have to scooch in a little. That's
Tallest people stand back on the platform there.
Hey, buddy. Mariah, you sure you need to be back there?
Yeah, if they're not Gary, that'd be great.
Can you students slide this way a little bit so we can put a couple board members on one side and a couple more?
All the way, that's it. Now we can see.
You may have to change places with Dr. Fetterman because she's not quite as tall as you are. There we go.
Miss McCormick. Miss McCormick, yeah, Miss McCormick's too.
No.
That's fine, now we can see it. Now we can see it. Smile.
Michaela, don't make weird faces like you do. Yeah, but you saw the picture too, didn't you?
Stop.
And any parents who want that, we should get, Ms. Di can send that to Coach White, he should probably blast it out there.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
So June of 23, y'all will be back. No, I'm just.
Down low.
We'll cross that bridge when we come.
No pressure, no diamonds, baby.
Are you okay with me telling them that?
Yes, that's perfectly fine.
Thank y'all for coming.
Thank you.
That was fun. Bye. Well, that was a great way to start our meeting.
Absolutely. I move for adjournment.
I admire what they do. All right, at this time, we need to approve the agenda for tonight for the June 6th work session regular meeting. Did anybody see anything we need to add or any problems? All right, then we will approve the agenda for the June 6th work session regular meeting agenda with no objection. And at this time, we are ready for public comment.
We have to be, the first one is Gary Littlefield.
Where's my clock?
I'm gonna,
Screen.
Oh, I can't see that.
Oh, yeah, we'll make
Up
it
there,
big.
can you see it now?
There's one right there.
It's even better. First off, I want to apologize for the subject matter I'm about to talk about, but it's serious and it's happening and it's going to come here eventually, just like we said we'll never have an upstate school shooting. We had one down in Townville. So it happens here. What I have found out as being a public school product, as my children were, school districts across the country have a plan for everything. If it's going to have a fire, we got a plan for it. If we got a flood, tornado, you name it, we got that binder, we pull it out, and we go with the plan. What I want to know is if the United States Department of Agriculture and the White House, this is politics also, unfortunately, goes ahead, and I'm sure you've heard that they're going to cut the free lunch program. If you do not abide by their rules about transgenderism across the country, If you don't allow little boys to go into the bathrooms with little girls, they're not gonna give you the money. My question is, what are you gonna do about it? Do you have a plan, like a fire or a tornado? If you don't, then you better get moving on it, because this is gonna happen, or get close to it. It's gonna pass by executive order, action, whatever it's called, and then it's gonna go to the court system for years. And in the meantime, your money is gone. For some of us, you might remember, I'll get back to you on this. Some of us, you might remember the Beatles. They started the long hair thing, Twiggy, the miniskirt, bell-bottom blues, you name it. These were all fads. This transgender is a fad. It's make-believe. They want to be included in something, and that's the problem that we have. I can't see a good Baptist teacher here going to church on Sunday and Bible school, and then on Monday they go in and start talking about homosexuality and building a false penis on a female. And I'm sorry about the words, but you're going to be teaching it, or they will be, with much stronger words than what I'm saying. It's going to happen. And I just can't see how we can do this, how you can allow it. Imagine a young man goes into the bathroom, little girl's in there on the toilet. He has a la-la, but he thinks he's a girl. So he takes his la-la out and starts playing with it and showing the little girl. It happens. We had down in Virginia, the boy who had a la-la, who thought he was a girl, who raped a little girl in the bathroom. Then what did the school board do? They shoved it under the carpet and they transferred him to another school where he did it again. This is fantasy. There is no one I would vote for any public office, any, that would come out and say a male, a real male, can birth a child. We've got educators with doctorate degrees, professors saying this. It's all a lie. And all we're doing is encouraging these kids to live in this fantasy they want to live in because they want attention. We're castrating little boys, 15, 16 years old, with chemicals that they used for rapists. We're having little girls have their breasts taken off because they think it's cool. What's going to happen in 8 or 10 years? They're going to be walking around not knowing who they are, what they are, or whatever they're going to do. I just don't see it. It's time to say no against this federal money, if it occurs and if it happens. I have to say that. Hopefully it will not. But the way things are going in our country, who knows? So my question is, actually, what are you going to do? Are you going to give up the innocence of children for lunch? That's the question. And I'll tell you something. If it comes out and it does pass, and you all pass it to get that free lunch money, and you put the rainbow flag out there, and you start calling boys girls and girls boys, and they don't know what the heck they are because they're walking around, one day, a little girl cannot go out of a classroom to the playground and come back as a boy. It doesn't happen. And all we're going to do, if this goes through and you accept the syllabus that they have on this, you're just going to teach them a lie. And if that happens, I'm going to be a big pusher for cameras in the classroom. We're getting down to that. Red flag. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sabrina Brinkman.
Hi, my name is Sabrina Brinkman. My daughter Sarah's back here. And I found out last week that there's an assistant principal that's being moved from the Seneca High School to Walhalla High School out of an admin position. He is the only administrator that I've met in this school district that knows special education laws and advocates for the special needs kids. Sarah, when she's at middle school, and you're looking to promote an assistant principal from the middle school up to the high school, this assistant principal participated in her being discriminated against, her being bullied at school. She didn't want to go to school a lot of times because there were There are very good teachers at middle school, don't get me wrong. I have 2 children who are in the Oconee County system. Sarah's the older one. I have another one that's graduated college, but she's the older one at 16, and she's autistic. She has severe ADHD. She has a couple learning disabilities where she has no short-term memory, and she was like bullied. And you're gonna promote this assistant principal up to the high school who sat there and let this happen. I was at that middle school every single day for 2 years. I have a 13-year-old who just finished 7th grade. She is a teacher's dream. She makes straight A's, not like just like a 92 or 93. She makes like 99 hundreds. Her teachers love her. She's in extracurricular activities. She was on the yearbook staff. It's a completely different world between the 2 children. I didn't even know that they had all these events that they can go to at the middle school for socialization and stuff, because she was never allowed to go to them because she didn't turn in her paperwork. She did it, she just couldn't remember how to sit there and submit it through on the computer. The assistant principal at high school, when we come there, there's a lot of the kids that come out of the middle school, they don't have proper IEPs, they don't have proper 504s, they don't know the laws and the regulations. I had to sit in 9th grade with guidance counselors, with administrative staff, and read the law to them and tell them, you have to provide mental health counseling for these kids. No, ma'am, we only do it for the elementary school. I'm like, that's not what the regulation says here. Here's U.S. code. U.S. code says you will provide it to all students, not just elementary students. Sarah got mental health counseling starting then. Your other assistant principal at the high school doesn't even know accommodations that can be given for the ACT and the SAT. I don't know how I'm the only parent that's ever requested that, but he didn't know how to do it. And he told me, you're not allowed to do that. I'm like, well, yes, you can. Here's the college board, and you have to sit there and request these accommodations. And all of a sudden, he figured out how to get it, and she magically got a letter from the college board to get the accommodations. And then other students, fell behind her on that. I just don't understand how you're going to promote somebody who sat there and let this happen and didn't try to mitigate it and didn't try and sit there and help. And you have an assistant principal who helped her. They told her she was safe when she came to the high school. You don't have to worry about the middle school anymore. You're at a new school. New administration, we're not going to do that to you. And now you're just going right back to what they had in middle school. And I'm respectfully requesting to keep the assistant principal there now. You have a principal that comes from a top 10 district. I graduated from that district, Dorchester District 2, Somerville High School. I know his mentors, and he can get it done, but he's got to have the tools to do it. And the principal that you want to sit there and promote, she's not going to do it. They're not going to have an advocate. They're not going to have somebody who knows special education law. And I'd like to see him stay, if that's possible. Thanks.
Sarah Brinkman.
So when I first came to the high school, I had a lot of fear with previous stuff that had happened at the middle school with the current assistant principal at the middle school, where I got in trouble for stuff I couldn't control. I also had stuff I wasn't allowed to do even though it helped me, and just didn't seem fair. And when I came to the high school, it was like culture shock, kind of, because I was given things that helped me more. And the current assistant principal at the high school, he has read my IEP through and through. He knows what I need to become successful. And it took me 3 years to trust him fully. And I don't think it's fair that I have to have me and other special needs kids have to have a new person come in that we don't really know, trust. It's very new. I feel I would really appreciate it if we could reconsider.
All right, we will move on now to the approval of minutes. You've had the minutes sent to you from the May 9th, 2022 work session meeting, and also the May 16th, 2022 regular board meeting. Did anyone see any changes, additions, deletions? No. All right, then the minutes from May 9th, 2022 work session, and the minutes from the May 16th, 2022 regular board meeting will be approved with no objection. And at this time, I will turn it over to Dr. Thorsland for his report.
Yeah, just real quick, want to thank y'all for your participation in some of our end-of-the-year activities that have been going on the past couple of weeks. We had a very nice retirement dinner, and we're able to honor a lot of folks at that event. And then, of course, our graduations, which is kind of a culmination of really 13 years in public schools for most of those students. And hate that, in some ways, I hate doing them at the schools because I really enjoy being at all of the different graduation ceremonies, but I know students have told us loud and clear they like to do the graduation at their school, on their campus. And of course, that happened a couple of Saturdays ago, and we had beautiful weather, so that was very nice, but we appreciate your participation. And then I just wanted to say publicly, too, for folks that may be watching this recording, or I guess if maybe somebody's out there watching it live, just that our board goals, I know you've had access to those for a couple of months now, and we talked about it briefly in the board retreat that we just completed, but that was not videotaped. So just to let people know that we'll have that for you guys to approve in July, and we'll try to get that out on maybe we can attach it to the agenda here so that people can see them on this, on the not the recording, but the documents that we put on the website for this meeting. And then we'll have that document to kind of guide what our focus will be next year. And that's really all I had.
Great. Well, I think everyone enjoyed the graduation events, and I do agree. It's hard not being able to see all of the students graduate, but it is certainly nice at the schools, and I think the families really enjoy being there as well as the students. All right, we now have the May financial report, and I understand, Jay?
Yes.
You're going to be doing that for us tonight?
Yeah, so I'm gonna be doing them soon, so I thought I might as well get my feet wet, and there's other items on the agenda for Ms. Moore will be handling. So, for the May financial report, what you see on there is the standard receipt of our monthly revenues from the state, some local tax revenue coming through the county, including property tax relief on Tier 3, and then the annual manufacturer's depreciation reimbursement. So that was the only time this year we've received that one, but it exceeded the budgeted amount. And then just some smaller refunds and insurance proceeds, which takes care of the revenue side. On the expenditure side, fairly standard tracking to budget for, most of the costs here are personnel costs and benefit costs. And obviously more than 1/12 is still encumbered for payroll costs, so you see that as an available item in the furthest right column. But nothing out of the ordinary there. And then on the check report, the only thing that is a little bit out of the ordinary or not just a regular programmed expense like energy or standard maintenance would be renewing a couple of contracts for some of the administrative programs we use for Medicaid cost settlements and some of the absences, tracking absences and substitutes for the teaching staff. Are there any questions that I can answer for anybody?
Anybody have anything?
Looks good.
Easy night, no questions. Thank you so much for doing that. All right, and now the funding flexibility report, Mrs. Moore.
Okay, so we've done this for the last several years. The state allows us to receipt some state funding and then transfer that funding directly to the general fund for use in our regular programs. And these are the three funds that we typically use that flexibility with. And so these have to be approved in an open meeting by the board. So we use these funds to pay regular expenses. The first one I will say, the formative assessment funds, we use to offset the cost of our map testing. Last year, we used other funds, so I didn't need to use these funds. I carried them over, and so this year, we used the full amount of last year's and this year's revenues. So if you all later, well, I think it's later on the agenda that we.
Can I just interject something real quick before Mr. Hamby starts? Tonight is Ms. Moore's last official board meeting, and I do want to say publicly, just how fortunate we are to have had her working in our district for so long, and not only just camaraderie we feel for working with her as colleagues, but I really think it's appropriate to say that the county can be thankful for her because she is she's on top of the finances. She makes sure that we're spending money appropriately. She's very conservative with the way she wants schools and the school district to use money. She's just been a very good steward of public resources for years and years, and we owe her a lot of appreciation. So I appreciate you, Gloria, and I know everybody in the room and
Absolutely.
anybody else does too. So,
Thank you.
thanks.
And we do, and you have been so wonderful to always answer questions, look up anything we've needed, and we just felt so comfortable being led by you. We know that your decisions are good and what you tell us is true, and we just have a lot of faith in you and appreciate all you've done, and also what you've done in the community. I know you've served on some community boards and you've represented the school district well there. So thank you so very much and enjoy your time.
It has been my pleasure.
Thank you, Gloria.
Absolutely. All right, Mr. Handy. Annexation.
Emotional before I have to start talking.
Man, Mr. Moore, go way back. Yes, annexation of the current, or the new Seneca Middle property. We had a meeting last week, and we've had some discussion with the city of Seneca, really about the property tract where James Way goes in, and the road. And so there've been some questions from the community, the neighborhood behind there. And so we've talked with Mr. Mulder and Mr. Halbig, city of Seneca. What they would like to do, and they've talked to the folks in the community there, is they would like to join in with us. Number one, they want to annex the property into the city limits. Cross Creek across the street already is, but they want to annex that. And there are benefits to that for us. One is trash pickup for us is better. We don't have to contract that out. They pick it up more frequently than we would contract it out. It means less bins, which means less of that look. They also have agreed, I've got an email, that they would maintain the sewer from the nearest manhole to the building, so that if there was a problem with the sewer line coming out of the building to the nearest manhole, they will help make sure that that is taken care of with us. Gives us extra police coverage, although we'll still use deputies from the sheriff's department for resource officers just being in the city limits and the things that go with it. And there's no disadvantage because we don't pay taxes as a school on that. And the other thing we want to do is work together on James Way, where beyond our bus driveway, Sandy, can you pull up that one that shows? There you go, that's fine right there. So on James Way, you can see coming in off Wells Highway, Lancaster Drive is gone. That's where the building's going. But about 150, 200 feet past our drive on the backside where the entrance of Lancaster is and such, we're going to use that as a bus route. That's how our buses are going to go into and out of school. No other real traffic will be going there. Parent drop-off won't be. We might have a few people that work in the kitchen or custodians that will go that way, but it'd be very limited traffic from our end. The neighborhood back there was concerned about traffic cutting through and trying to get there quicker to drop their kids off and that kind of thing. So what the city would like to do is talk about having a cul-de-sac on their end of closest to the neighborhoods. We would obviously give them the James's Way into ours if we needed to allow them to do that. But they would have a cul-de-sac without an exit, coming through it. Sometimes cul-de-sacs have a road off of them that you can continue to exit through, but it will be a cul-de-sac that stops traffic. And so people can't come off 4th Street and cut through the neighborhood and come the back way. We like that because it's going to limit traffic on that back way. It's kind of isolated if you are at the property where that curve is on James Way, closest to Wells Highway. There's a bank there and you can't really see. We actually would intend to put a gate up that we would close just onto James's Way off Wells Highway so that there would be no other access back there. I tell you all that to tell you that we want to work with the city. We want to allow them, our recommendation is to allow them to annex that property. And then we work together through maybe the C Funds Committee, trying to get some help on improving that road. We eventually give them as much of that road as they need to have to make that cul-de-sac work. And we continue to have the benefits of being a school that is inside the city limits. They said they would, if it was approved, they would take it up at their council meeting, I think on the 14th, try to get done quickly because we'd like to go reach out to the C Funds Committee to talk to them and see if there might be some chance that we can get some funding to help us with the improvements we have to make on James Way for our buses.
So that is on our action items tonight. Does anyone have any questions, any concerns?
Thank you.
All right. And now the policy check, the CDA Code of Conduct.
Yes, and we begin on page 9 of that 20 or so page document with just mainly the dress code changes that we've already are working on approving. So I think they'll finish up tonight. It seems like it's been going on for the whole year because we've been having those conversations. But this just incorporated those dress code changes into the Code of Conduct on page 9 and 10. So there's nothing new there that would go. On page 16, we're going to go there first, and then we're going to come back. On page 16, you heard a little bit from Ms. Hughes about the issues that we're having with vaping and tobacco and that. You saw the pictures. West Oak Middle did a great program. We're very proud of them and their students for doing that to try to let people know about the negatives and the risk with vaping and that, but it is a big issue for us. So when Ms. Hughes meets with the assistant principals in early May to look at the discipline policy and what we want to look at and what we need to tighten up on, what we need to look at adjusting, the assistant principals and her are asking that we, there on that second, it'd be the first bullet, first offense, instead of just being in-school suspension and complete the coursework and that, we want to up that ante a little bit and go for that to be 1 day out-of-school suspension for possession of tobacco, and law enforcement will still issue the citation. We call them blue tickets. She told you we'd issued over 200 of those this year as well. But we've got to figure out a way to make the kids understand that it is a serious matter and you cannot do that. It's against the law. I mean, you're not even supposed to possess it, much less have it in a school.
The only question I had on that one, before they had to complete the vape education course, is that no longer part of it? Or
Well,
did they just not think that was relevant?
It was not very
Okay.
helpful. It was costing us money to provide it, and it was just not very, very helpful. They had to watch a little video and do that, but we don't really think the effect was what we had hoped originally it would be.
Okay.
So-
Okay.
So in saying that, I need to go back to page 11 because I didn't catch it earlier, and I apologize, but we'll catch it for the next reading. But under tobacco use and consequences, about midway down, we will have to adjust that consequence to match up with what we're talking about on page 16 if you guys approve it. So I apologize for not catching that the first time through. It's just in two different spots, but our recommendation is we up the ante, and that becomes a one-day out-of-school suspension. And then you see the progression on the on page 16 that we would follow. And we would get that, again, we'll get that changed to red on page 11 if you're in agreement. So, and the reason we need action on this one, because we need to have before school starts, and we want to make sure, we don't print them for everybody anymore. We have them online, but we do print some in case people want a hard copy of the handbook. Okay, so that's that part. And then the next part that I have is about middle school, and this came from the middle school principals and the assistant principals as well. On the electronic communication devices, basically we're talking mainly their phones. But you see down on page 2 what we have in red. Middle school students may use their personal communication devices before and after school. They shouldn't be visible during the school day. We had combined middle and high school to allow them at lunch and it just creates too much of an issue. Text and stuff causing a battle back and forth. It just creates too much issue for what little bit of time that would be. So if you're in the gym before school starts, that kind of thing, if you're waiting outside for your ride and that kind of thing, after school, but during the day it needs to be put away is our recommendation. I think that's it on the
Right.
changes.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Handy on either one of those policies? All right, and we will move on with our action items. And the first thing that we have on the agenda is the approval of the funding flexibility report. Do I hear a motion that we approve that report?
I so move.
Second. Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor? Thank you. And then you saw the map and heard the request from Mr. Hanby. So now ask for a motion for the approval of the annexation of the new Seneca Middle School property.
Madam Chair, I move for the approval of the annexation of the new Seneca Middle School property.
All right, second?
Second.
All right. Motion and a second. Any more discussion at all? All in favor? All right, I think we'll do these policies separate. I'm going to ask you to approve on first reading policy JICDA, Code of Conduct. If someone would make a motion for that.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve policy JICDA, Code of Conduct on first reading.
I second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? All right, and that will be changed before second reading?
It will be.
Thank you. All right, and I also need a motion for the first reading approval on policy JICJ, possession use of electronic communication devices in schools.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve on first reading policy JICJ, possession use of electronic communication devices in schools.
Okay, second.
Second.
All right, any discussion at all? All in favor? All right, and we have been on the student dress code forever. So, we have on here to approve tonight the second reading. So I will ask for a motion to approve on second reading policy JICA-R, student dress administrative rule.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? And I suppose there are no updates on the budget?
No changes. The conference committee will be meeting this week, and then the full House and Senate will be meeting next week for some action. But
I do want to compliment Senator Alexander again. He called on Thursday or Friday last week and then asked if we had any input for him as he went into conference committee with that. And then I texted him this morning. He called back within just a few minutes so that Gloria could share something with him, and he's just been very attentive. So we're appreciative that he takes his job seriously representing Oconee County.
Absolutely. Well, we've seen the budget many times, so I will ask for a motion to approve on final reading FY '23 general fund budget.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve fiscal year '23 general fund budget final reading.
Second.
Any more discussion at all on the budget? All in favor? All right, and that is the final action item we have on the agenda. If someone will make a motion to go into executive session for personnel items.
Madam Chair, I move to go into executive session for personnel items.
All right, second. All right, all in favor? Great. All right, we will